You want to hear about the night I stared into the impossible? The night I stood between the divine and the other side? Trust me, a dry fast led to a deal and a war I never saw coming.
You want to hear about the night I stared into the impossible? The night I stood between the divine and the other side? Trust me, a dry fast led to a deal and a war I never saw coming. It all started back in 2007. I was fresh, just handed my whole life over, had this insane zeal, this fire in my gut. I was practically living at the church, especially with the youth group. My crew and I, we'd meet every Friday night, just vibing, talking faith. Then, one Friday, Marcus, our leader, drops a bomb. "Alex," he says, "I need you to give the message this week." My heart stopped. Me? Public speaking? About Christ? I had zero clue what to even say. Panic set it. So, what did I do? The only thing I knew how. I went dark. 3 days. Dry fast. No food, no water. Yeah, intense. By the final evening, I was pretty much ghost-like, sprawled on the couch. Gave up my bed, trying to push myself, humble myself, I guess. That's when the world faded. That's when I remember just falling. And then, bam, I was back in that weird, silent square. This place, imagine a perfect square, carved from absolute silence. No breeze, no sound, not even the softest whisper of fabric against my skin. Just pure, unsettling peace. Then, a voice. Not a voice, the voice. It knew my name, every secret, every stumble. And it wasn't just one. It was a symphony of light and shadow woven together. And from that profound harmony, the unmistakable echo of pure truth resonated through my very core. You will never grasp the true beyond unless you finally let go. This time I paid more attention. It was made of stone, ancient and smooth. Massive open sides like windows framed by colossal pillars, looking out into nothing I could comprehend. And the silence? Still absolute. It wasn't just quiet. It was the kind of quiet that makes you feel heard. The kind where every cell in your body hums. Because that's what happened next. As I stepped down onto those 3 simple stone steps leading into the open emptiness, I realized everything about me was alive. My very essence, my skin, my bones, even my fingernails, they were buzzing with an energy I'd never felt. My senses? Maxed out. It was like I could taste the air, see the light, feel the silence in a way no human should. The scene? Day. No clouds, but the light? It wasn't from a sun. It just was. Everywhere. No source, just pure illumination. So I started walking, drawn towards the heart of that perfectly silent square. And then it hit me. The voice. Look, I grew up Christian, sure. Parents, church every Sunday, the whole 9 yards. But it was ritual. Habit, no real connection, nothing personal. And I was honest about it. The day I gave my life to God, I had this moment standing outside my apartment. I stared at the sky and I literally spoke it out. God of the Bible, if you're real, if you're actually real, then show me. Don't send a pastor, don't send a deacon. Don't let anyone else tell me. Prove it to me. You're powerful enough, right? So prove it. Yeah, that day at an altar call, someone laid hands on me, and for the first time, I felt something. Something shifted inside. It wasn't the direct answer I demanded, not yet, but it was a feeling, a crack in the old wall. So back to that square, that vision, I heard it. My name. called out. And it wasn't just correct. It was perfect. Like my name had never truly been spoken until that moment. Every syllable, every nuance was cradled in absolute truth. It wasn't just a sound. It was an acknowledgement of my entire existence. I'd never heard it before, but I knew. I knew who it was. And here's the kicker. I could hear both of them, the Father and the Son, in one voice. Not two voices speaking at once, blending. No, it was a singular, unified resonance. Yet I could discern the distinct presence of both within that one sound. Impossible to explain, but utterly real. And that utterly shattered me. The power of that voice was terrifying. Literally, I was scared out of my mind. You read about prophets in the Bible, right? How they just collapse, prostrate themselves, overwhelmed by God's presence. Yeah, that was me. That was exactly the feeling. Instinct took over. I scrambled towards the nearest colossal pillar, wrapping my arms around its ancient stone, clutching it like my life depended on it. To my left, the endless open expanse of the plaza, but to my right, a solid, unyielding wall. And then, the wall began to lift. Just a couple of feet, enough for light to pour from underneath. But not just light, it billowed, it fractured, it bent in impossible ways, like a liquid fire pulsing with raw energy. It was pure, unadulterated joy and awe, so intense I can't even begin to describe it. But in that moment, without being told, without a single word, I knew that was His glory. And in that knowing, I understood for the very first time why giving God glory isn't just a command. It's the only possible response to something so utterly magnificent. My gut instinct? Pure, unadulterated panic. I wanted to bolt, to dive under that closing wall like some action hero sliding under a garage door. But it wasn't a slow creep. It slammed shut, faster than I could even blink. And then, that voice again. But this time, two messages layered, simultaneous, yet somehow crystal clear, one after the other in my mind. Mind-bending. You'll never glimpse the true beyond unless you finally let go, and immediately, without a breath in between, don't be afraid, I love you. Like, whoa, talk about pulling the rug out and then catching you before you fall. That's divine power, folks. Absolute mind-blowing paradox. No grand reveal of a physical form, mind you, just the voice. But I knew. I knew who spoke, and I knew the Father and Son were a single symphony in that sound. And just like that, the bone-deep terror I'd felt, it evaporated. But the relief was short-lived. 1 second, I'm clinging to an astral pillar. The next, I'm jolted awake on my actual couch, the same one I'd passed out on during my fast. And then, a jolt. A sharp, ice-cold poke right on my shoulder. I whipped around, and there, sitting calmly beside me, draped in a dark, monk-like robe, was him, the adversary, the big bad himself. I just knew. He wasn't some cartoon demon. He was tall, imposing, maybe 6'4", 6'5", and the face underneath that cowl. Guys, I'd never seen Harry Potter, not a single movie. But when I later saw the trailer for when Voldemort was fully realized, the chills, man. Instant, full body goosebumps. Because that was him. That was the face of ancient evil sitting on my IKEA couch. And when he spoke, it wasn't just words. It was eons of knowledge, dripping like venom. Every syllable was designed to persuade, to twist. He looked me dead in the eye, so calm, so utterly confident, and he laid it all out. I will give you everything you could ever desire, Alex. Just walk away from this path. Leave this endeavor you're pursuing. He wanted me to quit,
to give up on everything I was trying to do with Marcus, with the youth group, with finding God. My mind was reeling, but then it clicked. All those Sunday school lessons, all those sermons, rebuke the devil. But this wasn't some abstract concept. This was him, in my living room. I barely managed to stammer out, I rebuke you, Satan, in Jesus Christ's name. You know what he didn't do? He didn't vanish in a puff of smoke, no dramatic special effects. He just calmly stood up, took 2 slow steps towards me, and then he tapped my cheek. Just a light, icy touch. And he said, his voice a whisper that echoed in my soul, "You have no idea what war you just ignited." Then he turned, walked to my apartment door, and was gone. Just like that. His presence, imagine your worst nightmare. That one where you're awake, but you can't move, can't scream. Just pure suffocating dread. Multiply that by 1,000. That's his vibe. The ultimate phantom terror. And here's the kicker. God's presence, it's the exact opposite. Pure, unending, increasing joy. Peace that makes your bones sing. It's not overwhelming in a bad way. It's overwhelming in a, I want more, I need more, I'm drowning in bliss kind of way. His glory, infinite. Satan's shadow, utterly soul-crushing. The contrast, man, it's everything. After that whole encounter, there was no doubt left. No question. This wasn't some philosophy. This was the creator, the ultimate authority. Before all this, I was just adrift, grasping at anything, honestly. That void inside, it was a gaping maw, pulling me towards, well, anything that promised an answer. This experience, it slammed the truth home. And speaking of that creature, the one that looked like him, that Harry Potter vibe, man, it's wild to think how many times we see glimpses of this spiritual war reflected in our world. Everything we consume, every idea that captivates us, every story we tell, it's all got a source. It's either echoing divine truth or it's a distortion from the other side. Like everything. Think about it. It's either coming from the ultimate source of light or from the prince of this world, if you catch my drift. Absolutely. But honestly, it took forever for me to even articulate this. The sheer terror of that last part, that encounter with the adversary, it didn't just scare me. It kind of froze me. His presence, that cold dread, it left me numb for so long. How do you even begin to tell people that you shook hands with pure evil on your living room couch? Seriously, I had no clue. Look, if you're out there listening to this and you're still on the fence about God or you feel stuck, restless, whatever, just ask him. Seriously, just ask for your own experience. Not a pastor's, not a book's, not mine. Ask for a God experience. Because when it happens to you, no one, absolutely no one can tell you it wasn't real. It's undeniable. And if that's what you need to move forward on your journey, then do it.
Here's the thing. God wants you. He wants a real deep relationship with every single one of us. The only question is, how far are we willing to go? And hey, if you ask for that experience, if you start walking with him, be prepared. This isn't some fluffy, easy path. Jesus talked about counting the cost for a reason. Being a Christian isn't a blissed out Instagram reel. It's full of ups and downs, struggles that'll test you. Anyone who tells you otherwise, that's a lie. But let me tell you, it's so worth it. Because your story, your testimony, if it's real, if it's raw truth, it has a supernatural ripple effect. It's not about going viral to millions. It's about that one person, maybe even just one, whose world shifts because you spoke your truth. It sparks something. And that's why I'm finally sharing mine. Thanks for letting me spill it all. I pray it helps someone out there. You want peace? You want clarity? You want to actually know God, not just know about him? Listen up. It's not rocket science, but it ain't passive either. It's the OG cheat codes. Prayer, dive deep into the word. It's alive, man, not some dusty old book. And yeah, fasting. These aren't suggestions. They're the foundational planks. Non-negotiable if you're serious. And that dry fast, the one I told you about before everything went sideways, that was my first fast ever. Wild, right? I was that fresh out the water, born again zealot, fire in my belly, ready to move mountains. When the Bible talks about not losing your first love, that's what it means. That raw, unbridled passion. Because when you approach God with that kind of sincerity, that desperate, no-holds-barred honesty, no matter what state you're in, no matter how messy your questions are, He meets you. So yeah, that dry fast, total commitment, no liquids, not even a drop of water. By the third day, my tongue was literally plastered to the roof of my mouth. I'm thinking, okay, Alex, this is getting intense. Still no message for Marcus in the youth group tomorrow. But it was in that space of absolute depletion, of reaching my limit, that the impossible happened. And after that mind-bending, reality-shattering vision, you know I had a message for those kids. And it didn't come from a pastor or some church elder. It came straight from the source. That's always been my jam, my personal connection. Because real talk, after a few years with God, the initial hype wears off a bit, right? You hit your valleys, you have your ups and downs. But when you find your way back, you realize that first love, that pure, unadulterated interaction with God is everything. It's the anchor. Fasting, in whatever form you can manage it, is like saying, I'm serious about this, God. It's work. It's an investment. Look, I've seen relationships crumble because people stop talking. You lose touch with your spouse, you eventually lose your spouse. You stop connecting with your friends, they drift away. You lose that conversation with God, man, you're on thin ice. It's all about keeping that line open 24/7. Find your moment. Get alone. Pour out your heart. Tell him about your day, your struggles, your wins, your dumbest thoughts. Bring him into everything. He's not just a Sunday morning appointment. He wants to be your daily co-pilot. Seriously. Look, I got reminded of something powerful recently. It's like, imagine your own dad calling you up, right? He's like, hey kid, you haven't checked in lately. I see all your posts. I know what you're up to online, but I want to hear from you, not from your friends, not from your feed. Just call me. Tell me how things are really going so I can pray for you. And the kicker is he was totally right. Because in the exact same way, our Heavenly Father wants to hear from us. Are we really too busy for Him? And that hit me hard, because that's the ultimate challenge, right? For every single one of us. Don't be too damn busy for the Lord. This isn't just me preaching, this is me reminding myself daily. It's incredibly easy to let that conversation slide, to lose that intimate connection. And you know how it goes. If you don't use it, you lose it. You stop communicating, you lose the relationship. It's not passive, folks. It takes serious, intentional effort. Seriously, just reflecting on all of this, on that wild ride back in 2007 and all the years I've spent trying to piece it together, one thing still rings absolutely, terrifyingly true. Remember, I told you about that voice, that unified sound? Yeah, it was both the Father and the Son speaking as one. Still blows my mind every time I think about it.
They're one, undeniably. And there's just something about a name, man. When that divine presence speaks your name, it's not just sound waves. It's like every cell in your body lights up. I remember feeling that absolute knowing when my name was called in that silent square. It wasn't just Alex. It was Alex. Every secret, every stumble, every whisper of my soul, perfectly articulated. It just hits you deep down that this is the source, the creator, the one who knows you more intimately than you know yourself. You know how your closest people, the ones who really know you, say your name differently? It's got a weight, an intonation that the world just can't replicate. Now amplify that by infinity. That's what it's like when the Father speaks your name. It's straight from the source, straight from the architect of your very being. It's not just a sound. It's a declaration of your existence, a personal invitation. And that, folks, is why I'm here,
why I'm spilling all this. Because this journey, this connection, it's personal. It's about you. So remember what I said earlier about keeping that line open? Keep falling on your knees. Keep crying out. When everything else makes no sense, when doubt creeps in, when the world tries to drown you, you run to Jesus. You run to Him first, every single time. It's the only way. Alex's story illuminates that a truly transformative faith stems from a personal, undeniable encounter with the divine. It implores us to seek God with raw honesty and intentional effort through prayer, studying the Word, and fasting, opening ourselves to His overwhelming presence and perfect love. This intimate connection becomes our anchor amidst spiritual warfare. Don't be too busy for the Lord. Prioritize constant, heartfelt communication. Run to Jesus first, always, for undeniable truth, clarity, and peace. Share your thoughts and don't forget to follow God's voice for you for more meaningful stories and insights on your spiritual journey.